makes you even more exact.
Mm.
So from the positive peer pressure of them saying how much they got out of the spoken word that was not as accurate as the written word, they kind of forced me to do so. So this book, I in this book in the editing process, I broke down crying, Dr. Boyce and Dr. Alicia. I broke down crying because I was thinking about how much I wish I would have known this when
Mm.
I was a young Black man coming up and what it would have done for me. And I started putting myself into the shoes of the young up and coming soldiers that will be able to get, in street terms, get this kind of game early in life. And then I thought about the sisters and brothers that, like all of us, have made many mistakes and how we can repair ourselves with it. So the mathematics of the mind really is a 33 chapter expose that unpacks the power of the mind and how to put the power of that mind into service. And whether you're trying to defeat depression, become a better husband, father, mother, wife, whether you're trying to make more money, lose weight, whatever your struggle is, this book is written with a certain formula we believe will allow the reader to start levitating over life's challenges and be
Mm.
able to make unlimited progress in every area. So that's
Wow.
the feedback we've been getting from it has been just that. And I just got an email last week, Dr. Boyce, and you know how Amazon works. It's hard when you got 38,000 new books a day coming out. But we were able to win the #1 new release for the month of February.
Wow.
Mathematics of the mind.
Wow.
That's big. That's big.
That is very big. Whoa. Whoa. Are you kidding me?
And I was so touched again. I got teary eyed again because it was about a 50-50 split of males and females. But what touched me the most, Dr. Alicia, is that 68% of the readers that bought the book were under 25 years of age.
Wow. That is very big. That is very big. And it's and it's well deserved because I know how hard you work and I know how sharp you are and I know you've spoken at the convention and things like that and everyone loves what you had to say. And it's important to me because let's just start with education. You know, when you talk about learning, I always say that our kids need to be learning from people like you. You know, you and I both have a lot of time. We spend a lot of time in Chicago, and we know what's happening with our children, literally almost being psychologically and spiritually abducted by this system. You know, they got millions of our kids coming through these school systems, can't read, can't write, can't do math, none of that. And individuals like yourself are right down the street, ready and willing to teach and engage and everything else. So there's that fear of what you can do in the mind of a young person. So I'd like to ask you this question, and I think I know the answer, but I'd like to hear it from you. Why do you think that America is afraid? Why do you think they would label someone like yourself or the minister as a dangerous man? Last time I checked, you ain't tried to hurt nobody. You ain't out killing people. You're not beating people up. What
Right.
makes you dangerous?
Well, you said it, Dr. Boyce. They everything in creation, everything in nature has a natural enemy. The lions have the hyenas. The cats have the dogs. The mice have the cats. Everything in nature has a natural enemy. And in this world, when you study, there was a conference done called the Van Dun Conference of 1954. And this was a group of African and Asian nations that met, and they wanted to discuss, with no European nations present, when did our problems begin? And whenever Ghana, Angola, whenever Egypt, when all these African and Asian nations took their stand, each one of them said, well, we were doing fine until the French showed up.
Hmm.
We were doing fine, and then the Portuguese showed up. We were doing fine, and then the Americans showed up. We were doing just fine, and the Germans showed up. We was getting along with the Dutch showed up. And then someone raised a question at the end. Well, what is it that all of these opposition forces have in common? And the general consensus was all of them were Caucasian nations.
Mhm.
So the enemy knows that we, if we are ever given a level playing field as black people, we are the direct descendants of the originator himself. We are born with divine DNA, holy heredity. Prosperity is built in our plasma. We have God's genetic makeup. Anything we are allowed to express ourselves without hindrance and suppression, we become the master of it, such as the basketball, such as football, such as tent. Whatever we are allowed to express greatness in without hindrance and suppression, we become the masters of it. So
Mm.
they know that you cannot control a group of people unless they don't know what you know. So
Mm.
because of that, they always have kept us without knowledge. And in particular, what I love about you all's Love and Money Lab is because just off of those two concepts, those solve 2/3 of our problems as a people, and maybe all of them, because there were three sciences in 1867 that the slave master said they never wanted the slaves to learn. Whenever they were discussing whether they were going to allow black people to go to institutions of higher learning, colleges or universities, the two rules came out. One, they said, we'll let them go to college, but they can't come to our schools.
Mm.
Two, there's three sciences that must never be taught to the slave. And that is the science of money or finance,
Mm.
the science of warfare, and the
Mm.
science of mating. So
Wow.
when you say the Love and Money Lab, y'all hitting it right on the head. And that is their reason, because they know that if we ever know what they know, the playing field will be level. And by way of the evolutionary process of us remaining in existence for over 78 trillion years, whatever we are allowed to work out in without hindrance and suppressions, we're going to become the masters of it. So
Mm.
the Honorable Elijah Muhammad gave us a little lesson called a problem book, and in it, it talks about that the original man has 3 times the mental and physical strength of the grafted man. And the grafted man is the man that came later down the cycle of time, or Caucasian, who only has a 6,000 year history. But original is you and me that came
Mm.
in existence trillions of years ago. So when you know that they know that we got 3 times their mental and physical strength, they have to do everything they can to break our legs before we run the race and keep us from knowing what they know. Because if we do, the playing field will be level and we would dominate engineering, medicine, law, education, the same way we've dominated basketball, football, tennis, and golf.
All right. Now, everybody, as you all come in here, this is Brother Nuri Muhammad. He's the author of the new book, The Mathematics of the Mind. Did I say that correct, brother?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And by the way, and I want to just so I can have it handy, what is the website? Because I know people are already asking about the book, and I want to make sure everybody gets a chance to get it. What's the website for your book, brother?
It's NuriMuhammad.com.
Oh, that's easy.
NURI Muhammad.com.
Okay, NuriMuhammad.com. Okay, so babe, I know that Alicia, I know that you when he brought with mathematics of the mind, I already know that with my wife, I'm sure she has questions about that
Yes.
and comments because I sat here and I watched my wife. I don't talk about it much, but she is one of the hardest working people I've ever met. And when I say that, I'm not saying it just because I think she's cute. I'm saying it because it's true. She would get up 5:30 in the morning, go to a workout boot camp. She reads about 22 books a year. And there was one book she read that was hundreds of pages. It was all about the subconscious mind. And then she read it twice in the same year. And so
Want to
I'd
make
like
sure it
to.
went into the subconscious mind.
There you go. Right. So, babe, I'm gonna hand the ball to you, babe, so you can talk to Brother Nuri about that because I'm sure you have something you want to ask about or bring up.
Oh, I think it's so great because mathematics of the mind. Just last night, I was talking to Boyce about how we first met, and I asked you to be my math teacher. Did not understand math, and his ability to help me answer simple what would be simple questions about what was going on with algebra and college algebra. To do it, and I'm thankful. I was thank him last night.
Hey, babe,
About 30 years ago.
hey, Alicia, I think your mic is a little bit muffled. I don't know if you were able to, it's kind of going in and out a little bit.
Okay. Let me take,
Yes.
I have my headphones on. Let me
Okay.
put my other, okay. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I'll let you know if but it was a little bit muffled. Go ahead, babe.
It's muffled? Okay. Anyway, so I just think mathematics, like a problem that you're trying to figure out. And when you say mathematics of the mind, I'm thinking that's that's the best equation ever to figure out how to get in control of your mind and your thoughts. And it's so funny because as a therapist, it's really what I do all day long is sit with people and try to get them to figure out why they're doing certain things, what they've been programmed to do, and to repair. I love that you mentioned repair because so much repair needs to happen between Black men and women. I mean, just as a community. And I love that you spoke about the enemy because, yeah, we would say the enemy is the white man. And of course, we could look at that historically. But the biggest enemy that has been instilled in us is what happens in our mind, in our thoughts, the negativity. When you speak about depression,
Right.
depression is nothing but negative thoughts in your mind. And spending time with people to try to figure out who told you this, who lied to you and told you you were not good enough, who lied to you and told you that you were not good enough to do all of these wonderful things that you have just said is endowed upon us as a community, as a people. And it's curious, does your book go into any of these aspects?
Yes.
Yeah.
Beautiful, Dr. Alicia.
And by the way, brother, babe, your mic is still muffled. We were able to hear you, but you might want to switch your microphone while Brother Nuri's answering the question. Just take a look at that.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, go ahead, brother.
That was a great intro to the question and a great way to ask it because that is true. So when you look at mathematics and then you think about the mind, most people don't put the two together. But as Dr. Boyce, when you met him, helped you with mathematics, what they say in the world of mathematics is that there's only four types of mathematics, and that's adding, subtraction, multiplication, and division. Technically, there's only two types of mathematics, and that's adding and subtracting, because all multiplication is adding faster, and all division is subtracting faster. So when you deal with the mathematics of the mind, as you said, see, there has been self-destructive and self-defeating commands that have been installed in the Black psyche by our sojourn here in America. Some of those self-destructive, self-defeating commands came from our mothers and fathers. Some came from no good, spirit-killing sixth grade teachers. Some of them came from the drunk uncle or just the people in the hood we grew up with. But we are operating, as you said, because now what you're trying to do in therapy is you're trying to get them to trace back who told you that. And then after that, discredit the one that told you that so that you can stop believing it and acting on it. So in this book, there's a section where we deal with a principle statement that I have been striving to superimpose on my mind to try to get control of my thinking. And this is this thought, this statement: I will not allow my self-image nor any other perception to be shaped by non-scriptural information. So in other words, I will not allow what I think or what somebody else told me to be accepted in my mind unless I can approve it and prove that God said the same thing. So when you get into the mathematics of what the God said about us, we are in his image and after his likeness. That means that everything that's true about God is true about us. Image and likeness means that we look like God on the outside and on the inside. Image and likeness means that when God sees us, he sees himself. Our problem is when we look at ourselves, we don't see him. If we're in the image and likeness of God, whatever God has done, we can do. So we are impossible and unstoppable beings whenever we are operating off of the proper mathematics. So Dr. Alicia, when you unpack the variables of the Bible and Quran, guess what you find out? God's mathematics is always addition and multiplication. And the devil's mathematics is always subtraction and division. So anybody, whoever they are, that has said something to us that causes us to think less of ourselves, that's satanic influence. And those forces that have made us to think better of ourselves, we have to salute those as coming from the supreme being and divine. So that's kind of a good foundation for what the mathematics of the mind are. And at the end of the day, there's a scripture that says in the book of Proverbs 23:7, it don't say as a man driveth, so is he. As a man weareth, so is he. Or even as a man haveth in his pocket, so is he. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. So this is the most important aspect of life. We're really not a body with a mind in it. We really are a mind with a body wrapped around it. Once we understand that what we don't have really is a direct result of what we don't know, and my people are destroyed from a lack of knowledge, which says that in equal and opposite extreme, we can be rebuilt by the acquisition of it. This subject on the mind becomes the most important of all subjects because it is the root of everything. This brain muscle is the only muscle that you use in every activity of life. There's plenty of things you can do with just your arms, some things you can do with just your leg muscles, but there's nothing we can do without the brain muscle. So it's got to be number one and most important.
Brother, I think that's a very powerful statement. I was, believe it or not, I was oddly thinking about that today. I quit playing golf years ago because it takes too much time and I can't spend 4 or 5 hours away, and spend all that money and all that. So here's what happened. So my wife got me the best Christmas gift ever. She got me one of those Meta Quest 3s, right? With the when you go on the VR thing, right? Now I don't do anything else with it now except play golf. And my wife, she laughs at me because I'm sitting in the bedroom with this thing on my head and I'm swinging shots and saying, "Oh man, no, that don't hit the tree," and because it's so real, right? It's so realistic. But here's the funny part. So one time I was playing, and I'm looking at this big beautiful golf course. You can hear the water flowing over the rocks and and hear the birds chirping and the wind blowing. They do everything they can to control those two main senses, what you see and what you hear. Because think about it, what are our senses, right? We got what we see, what we hear, what we taste, touch, and smell. Most things that we see, we don't taste it, we don't touch it, and we don't smell it 9 times out of 10, right? But seeing and hearing is like 80-90% of that. So here's my point. So my wife, when she's talking to me, I tell her, I said, I feel like I'm really on a golf course. I feel like I'm at Pebble Beach or something, and I hear your voice almost like you're living in another dimension. And then one time she was about to go to work, and I said, "Hey, babe, come here, give me a kiss before you go." And she gave me a kiss, and I said, "I feel like I'm getting kissed by a ghost because I don't see you. I see the golf course, but I feel this pretty lady's lips on mine." And so here's the point on this, right? It made me think about our existence and how we are these brains inside these bodies, and it's like we're in this dimension, but maybe there's a whole set of realities outside of that we don't know anything about, like the same way when I hear my wife's voice, but I'm like, but I don't see anybody here, but something's clearly happening outside of this reality that's around me. So I almost feel like that reminds me of when you talk about the spirit world, or you talk about psychology, just all these other realities that are happening around us that we can't necessarily perceive because maybe all of our senses are not in tune to it, or we're so caught up in the reality that was given to us, like the way those goggles were put on my eyes. So the same way when we are born and raised in America, in my opinion, the black man and the black woman is kind of given some sort of false reality, right? You know, you're a thug, you an N-word, you're supposed to be the next Cardi B or the next LeBron, and you don't see the other million different things you could have become, these other realities that would be much healthier for you, because somebody decides from the day you're born what your reality is going to be. And so I would tell you, brother, when you said that word, you said a word that was similar to elevate, but it wasn't elevate. You said another word about levitate. Yes, you said levitate. And man, I'm telling you, my wife would laugh at me because I always tell her, I say, I think he's my brother from another mother, because what did I do this year, babe? We created something called Dr. Boyce Elevate where we do every morning at 10 a.m. we do financial consciousness training. And every day, the students will tell you this. I always talk about elevating your consciousness. Everybody else is playing two-dimensional chess. You need to play two-dimensional checkers. You need to play 3, 4, 5-dimensional chess, because when you elevate, your awareness grows. You can see things. You know, like I talked about the time I was in an airplane and I flew over the traffic of a freeway I normally drive, and being above the traffic, I could see things that I could not see when I was down in the middle of everything. So that word, could you talk about that a little bit? I know that was a long-winded question.
Man, you teaching, but
Talk about
this
that.
is what I thought about. So if you look at a book, when a book is open, it looks like the way we used to draw birds before we knew how to really draw. See the two humps? And if you go to any major city, you'll notice that if you want to get the best apartment of any apartment building, it's not downstairs by the lobby. It's the penthouse suite. It's the top floor. You go to the city county buildings where the mayor's office is. He's on the top floor. You go to a hotel and you ask them for the best room. They say, well, we got the presidential suite, and the presidential suite is not down at the bottom by the gift shop. It's on the top floor. Then they call it, whenever you are thinking bigger and seeing the bigger picture, they say that so-and-so has the bird's eye view. Reading gives you wings. It gives you the bird's eye view. And the higher you are up, the smaller everything looks to you. The higher you are up, the farther you can see. The higher you are up, the less traffic is there to disturb your destination that you've set as your goal. So that's what you're doing at 10 o'clock with the money consciousness and elevation. See, it's taking people up where they can have a bird's eye view of life. And it was something else you said too that made me think of this. We broke it down in the chapter. The scientists of this world say that there are only 2 gates to the mind. That's the eyes and the ears. Meaning what you see and what you hear is going to be deposited, compiled together, and make up the nature of your thoughts. But there's a new study now that is verifying what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad told us in a book called How to Eat to Live. Look at this, Dr. Boyce, Dr. Alicia. He said that we have 2 digestive systems, one in the stomach and one in the mind, and both of them work together. What hurts one hurts the other. Now there's this new term, scientific term now they call the gut brain, where they are proving that there's a bidirectional communication from the stomach to the brain and from the brain to the stomach. In other words, what you think can affect digestion. And we see it: stressed out, anxiety. Now you start having heartburn, ulcers. But now they're finding bidirectional, that if you eat bad food, it can also corrupt good thoughts. For everything we eat, digestion's goal is to turn solid into liquid or turn it into a chemical. The chemicals integrate in the blood. The blood travels through 60,000 miles of arteries throughout the body, goes up into the brain. And since thoughts are electrochemical energy, when you eat food and turn it into chemical, the chemicals of the food mix with the chemicals of the thought. So bad thoughts can be made worse with bad food, and even good thoughts can be made bad with bad food. So, sisters and brothers, there's three gates to the mind: the eyes, the ears, and also the mouth. So we have to be careful what we listen to. We have to be careful what we entertain. And we have to be careful what we eat, because those three things mixed together are going to form the chemical composition of the mind. And if you put the wrong thing in, you're going to have some bad math. Put the right thing in, you're going to have some good math. But that, what you said, Dr. Boyce, that is the goal of all those that have power. You always want to be up high so you can see more, look farther, and things look smaller to you, and you can work out solutions easier the higher you are up. We can get to that upper room that they talk about in the Bible, that elevated places they talk about in the Quran, that penthouse suite, that presidential suite, that bird's eye view they talk about in the regular world. We can get there by acquiring more and more knowledge. It raises us up. It causes us to elevate and levitate.
I love that. And so the word for today, everybody, is elevate. You can type either elevate or levitate, whichever one is easier for you to spell. Type that in the chat. We're talking to Brother Nuri Muhammad about his new book, The Mathematics of the Mind. Everybody type that word elevate if you're on board with this conversation, because I can tell you, and I just will repeat it every chance I get. Listening to Brother Nuri, he's one of the wisest individuals I've ever met. And we are living in a very special moment in time that we all get this chance to elevate our people. We're getting it done. So, Alicia, I imagine you had questions when he mentioned, Nuri mentioned a word that you mentioned a lot with, which is anxiety. And you talk about your work as a therapist and how anxiety and depression are kind of connected. And I'm also sure that you have something to say about that mind-body connection. Did you have something you wanted to ask, or something, a comment you wanted to make? Oh, now you're muted, babe. Yeah, let me see. No, we can't. We can't. That's okay. That's all right, babe. You work on the technical difficulties, and me and Brother Nuri will keep talking. And you let me know when you come in. So brother,
Now, can you hear me?
Now I can. Now we can. Touchdown.
You can hear me, but it's muffled. But you can hear me.
It's not muffled anymore.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So, I mean, every time I meet with a client, the very first time I meet with them, I always ask them, how's your vision? Is your vision ever blurry? And they're like, do you have ringing in your ears?
The muffle's coming back again, babe. We got to get you a new microphone, babe. I might see if I got a mic around here that you can use. Yeah. Those $2 earbuds. I don't know if those are working.
I put my other computer.
Okay, go ahead and try that. Go, you can log back in, babe. If you need me to send you a link, let me know. Yeah,
okay.
Sorry about that. I know she got a lot to say about it, because what you're talking about.
I think I can tie into what she's asking, because of she's asking how is the vision? Because, see, there's a scripture in the Bible that says this: I walk not by sight, but I walk by faith. And that is really the proper way to operate in the present. See, walking is a present day activity. But if I'm walking not by sight, that means I'm engaged in a present day activity called walking, but my mind is not focused on the present. I'm focused on faith, which is future focused. I'm thinking about the future. So I've got my eyes on the prize as I'm making those steps. And vision, there's a scripture where Solomon said that without the vision, the people will perish. Well, that's not only a leadership principle, that if you got a leader and they have no vision, then the people that follow him will perish. It's also an interpersonal reality. If you have no vision as an individual, then you will begin to see your aspirations, your dreams, your goals, they will begin to die. So vision is really the mind's ability to leave the present, go into the future, take a tour of the future, gather the notes of what it's seen, then come back to the present and use those notes to inspire you in the present to act to get to where you're trying to go. If you don't have your mind fixed on the notes of what you see, the powerful, positive outcome to be, then it's going to be hard to take the pain of the struggle to reach your goal in the present. That's why our ancestors used to always echo, Dr. Boyce, keep your eyes on the prize. Because when you got your mind fixed on that finish line, whenever you've got the goal of what you're going to achieve in front of you, it makes what you're going through easier to manage, because at the end of the day, you know that there's going to be greater pleasure in the future than the pain of the present. So that question Dr. Alicia is asking those clients is such a good one, because if you are operating solely in what you see in your current condition, then you might find yourself in hopelessness and despair. But if you can let your vision, which is your mind, leaving the present, taking a tour of the future, gathering up the notes of that positive outcome in the future, coming back to the present, showing you those notes and inspiring you to use those notes to go ahead and act in the present, then you'll be able to keep your fight, your consistency, and your persistency alive when you have a vision.
Yeah, you know what I refer to that as consciousness, right? Consciousness, the ability to understand why you're doing what you're doing. If you, I remember I talked to a friend one time, and he was about to do something uncomfortable, and I said, "Well, you know what they say, no pain, no gain." He said, "My saying is no pain, no pain." Right, and what I saw with that was a difference in our perception of things. My thought is, okay, you go through the pain so you can get the benefit. And because he was only thinking about the present, he said, look, the benefit is that if I don't do this, then I can go back home and go to bed. Right. So that vision is what drives you to do these things that are uncomfortable and difficult and challenging. And I think vision is very important for Black people, because if you are Black and conscious and you have a vision of what our community will look like, once our children are well educated, once our children have learned how to build wealth, once we've learned how to really love each other, once we've built strong families and built these institutions that we deserve, if you can see that, then it helps you look past all the nonsense out here. That I always tell my students and say, I'm not looking at the year 2024. I'm looking at the year 2074. That's where I want to live there, because 2074 looks a whole lot better than the nonsense I see right now. Okay, so did we get some success on the microphone, babe?
No, can you hear me?
Yes,
we can't hear you. Go ahead. The floor is yours.
No, I missed that part, but I love when you talk about vision, Boyce. And I think it's so easy to have vision when you're nice and calm and relaxed. Oh, let's do our vision. Let's have vision. Let's get along. Let's love each other. All of these wonderful things about planning for the future. And then what I see so much with us is that as soon as somebody does something that you interpret as hurtful, your reaction to that is not what it needs to be. And what it does is it damages each other, because you see each other as a threat. And it's a mind chemical process.
Come on.
Your mind starts to release cortisol and all of these chemicals in your brain, and you actually think that you're in danger. You really think that the person who you love so much, just 5 minutes ago, before they said something to get you triggered, you start saying and doing things and fighting out of your mind is going back to times in the past where you have been threatened. And it's not the person in front of you that's really out for you. It's reminiscent of something that's happened to you in the past. So having this vision is really beautiful, but what we do is we blow it up like a time bomb that just gets destroyed in the midst of normal conflict. And I think that I work with so many people to get used to conflict. It's gonna happen. We're two different people. My brother and I, we are half each other. We grew up in the same household, and we don't always agree on everything. So you know you're not gonna agree with somebody that you fall in love with, because at the beginning, all you see are the similarities.
Right.
And then naturally, you're gonna find that you don't agree on certain things, and it's supposed to be okay.
But I think to really get that vision and to really execute the vision, it's gonna take healing.
Right, that's right.
Do that through another person.
That's right, Dr.
Yeah.
Alicia. That's so good. You made me think about something, you know. I try to tell people when we do this marriage seminars that married people should not argue with each other. They should have discussions. And there's a difference between an argument and a discussion. An argument is when two people go back and forth yelling to figure out who is right. But a discussion is when two people go back and forth calm and respectful to find out what is right. And one of the things we deal with in the mathematics of the mind, in problem solving and in communication, the minister gave us a study guide that we have. It's called, listen to this, Rising Above Emotions into the Thinking of God. And what he unpacks in it is that not to kill emotions, but to rise above them. And when you're above them, you control them. They don't control you. What we have found, Dr. Alicia, is that, and you know it from counseling, that the higher the emotions, the lower the logic. So, and it's really almost on the equal opposite spectrum. So if somebody has emotions at an 8, their logic and reason is only at a 2. If somebody has their emotions at a 7, their logic and reason is only at a 3. The only way that you have people using intelligence, inference, deduction, analytics, logic on a high level is whenever they have their emotions under control. So God did not give us to emotions. He gave emotions to us. We're supposed to control them. They're not supposed to control us. And I would also suggest to the brother, I hope he's listening, that where he said, you know, you told him no pain, no gain. He said, no pain, no pain. Look, the minister said this. He said, everything of value has a difficulty factor attached to it. So anytime you want to know whether something is worth it, if it's easy, normally it's not. So you can't, you know, and unfortunately, the way the brain is constructed, and Dr. Alicia, you can come to the witness stand, the brain has a nature to seek pleasure and avoid pain. So you really have to activate the override mechanism of your own mind to tell yourself, wait a minute, I can't always seek pleasure and avoid pain, because everything of difficulty everything of value has a difficulty factor, which means it might be some pain. So I got to embrace the pain so that I can actually get to something of value. And to my brother that said no pain, no pain, think about this. Andrew Carnegie hired Napoleon Hill to do a study of the 50 most successful people in different fields of a human endeavor all around the world. And he studied them for 20 to 25 years. But in the course of him interviewing the 50 that were great in their fields, he ran across people that were also failures in the same field. And Napoleon Hill said he met 25,000 people that were in the same field as the other 50 that were successful, that were failures. And there was one thing he noticed that was a big difference between the two. He said the 50 that were successful, they always engaged in activities that were goal achieving, while the failures always were engaged in activities that were tension relieving. So the successful people was always accepting the challenge, embracing the struggle, embracing the grind, going through no pain, no gain, while those that became unsuccessful and failed, they always were looking for something tension relieving. They didn't want no pain. Therefore, they never were able to be successful. So you know, we have to, you know, if we want to get strong, you're going to have some resistance.
Yes. That is so true. And usually what I tell my clients is that pain is inevitable. It's actually welcoming. Pain tells you this is not right. Pain doesn't tell you to give up. Pain tells you maybe you need to go into another direction. And if you give up, that's when you suffer. You
Yeah,
don't have to suffer, but you do need to go through pain.
that's right.
And people suffer when they experience a little bit of pain. They say, uh-oh, I don't like men now. All men ain't no good because I went through this one painful experience. That doesn't mean it's all, you can throw it all out. The same with men and women,
Okay.
oh my God, I'm gonna get my passport and go get a passport to repeat the same mistakes you're making to be in even more pain. So I
Right.
think you just have to go through the pain that creates success so that you don't have to walk around in your life suffering.
Dr. Boyce, you probably would like this one. This is something I tell in dealing with the economic side of it. Building wealth is hard, but being broke is hard too.
Yeah.
Choose your heart.
Choose your heart.
God, I'd rather be
Hard do you
rich.
want? So
Yep.
and that's the truth. Being happy is gonna take some work. That's why it's called the pursuit of happiness.
Yes. Yeah.
Being sad, being down, doing nothing is gonna have some pain attached to it. To choose your pain, choose your heart. So it is this is something too that we try to break down in the book. There was a study done on the brain's survival mechanism where it is trained to cut off and stop at only at 80% of its true maximum potential. So if you're running, it'll stop you at 80% of how far you really can run. If you're lifting weights, it'll stop you at 80% of your strength. If you're working, it'll stop you at 80% of what you could have. Whatever you're doing, the brain shuts off at 80% and keeps 20% in reserve just in case it needs it for survival. Problem though, most of the time you never need survival. So there's 20%, and now they're saying sometime up to 60% of your personal brain strength that you have at your disposal right now that is never being tapped into. So that's another aspect of the mental discipline. And I like a term where you start trying to become a black belt of mind control. How do I become a master of my own mind, where instead of it just telling me what to do, I can tell it what to do? Because
Yep.
whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're absolutely right. It's just depending on what you believe.
And
If
we
you
have
don't
to
think you
reclaim
can,
it.
you
Yeah.
can't. But if you think you can, and you will.
Yes. Yeah. Well, you know what? I'll tell you what. When I was talking to our oldest son, I mentioned to him, when we're talking about just rules of manhood, I kind of, come from I guess an old school standpoint in the sense of, I told him a couple of things that I thought were really important about development. One is I said, as a man, you have to have something in you that just gets the job done, so you can come through for the people that care about you. You don't want to let them down regularly, because that's a problem. It happens a lot, too much in our community, and that's one of the reasons why I have so much admiration and respect for the Nation of Islam, is because of the types of black men you manufacture. There's no other place that builds a black man like the Nation. Nowhere in society does this, and that's why I think everybody listening should support what the brothers and sisters in the Nation are doing 100%. The second thing I mentioned to him is, I said, your subconscious mind is the most important part of your brain. And one thing you never want to do is feed yourself negative information about yourself. If you're going to do something hard, don't just keep saying, I can't do it, I can't do it, I can't do it, because your subconscious mind is sitting there taking notes like, okay, so I can't do it. Like you say, I'm so bad at math. I say, no, you don't say that. You say, well, math is tough, but I'm going to get through it. Because if you keep saying I'm bad at math, your subconscious takes notes. And then when you try to do math, you're going to fail, because your subconscious has already programmed that inside of you. So I believe deeply that that brainwashing is done to us, and
Yeah.
one way to combat the brainwashing that's done to us is to take over that process. Brainwash yourself to become the person that you want to be. Every day form the habits that are going to be beneficial. I've also found, to that point you mentioned about how that last 20%, we can't get past that last 20%. It's real hard to do it by yourself. Get you an accountability partner. Get around people that are going to make you. I always talk about my wife, how she got me I always knew how to lose weight. It wasn't like it was a mystery. Just go to the gym, don't eat so much bad food, and work out every day. I just didn't do it. But when my wife was getting up every morning at 5 a.m., I'd be like, okay, all right, well, she's a pretty lady. I'm gonna follow her wherever she goes. And she or if I wanted to sleep in, she'd say, now, Boyce, now you said you wanted to get up, and I say, all right, you're right. I did say that to myself, and that little bit made a massive difference, and that's why I think it's very important. And I'd love for you to speak on this too, in terms of just, I believe at any age and any stage in life, we all are affected by peer pressure. The environment that you're in will shape how you view things, what standards you set for yourself. So I think it's very important to think about what social space we're in, from who we're married to who our friends are, to the types of people we hang around with, and to hang around people that specifically can help you elevate. Can you give some perspective on that?
And that's so true. And that's why, even, and of course, the person you're going to be around the most is the one you choose to be your mate. So I said in one of my books and also in a few interviews that the most important decision you will ever make in your life after choosing belief in God is who you choose to be the mate to spend the rest of your life with. For that mate will either inspire you to grow into your greatness, or they'll confine you to complacency. They'll either be your other half, or they'll make you half of yourself. The minister said it like this. He said that a good relationship will bring out the best in you and make you more youthful, while a bad relationship will bring out the worst in you and cause you to age prematurely. So that's your mate is supposed to be your primary positive soundboard that you can bounce ideas off of, and they should be able to give you back your idea even better than you gave it to them and inspire you to want to move forward. So that's one. But there's a verse in Hebrews in the Bible that says this: a mirror reflects a man's face, but who a person truly is determined by the kind of friends that they choose. Big Mama used to say it like this, Dr. Boyce. Big Mama got a gospel, and her gospel, some of her stuff is just as true as Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. She said, birds of a feather flock together. So when it's impossible for two people to go on a walk and one of them not either speed up or slow down. You're not going to both keep going at two different paces. Either they're going to speed up to your pace or you're going to slow down to theirs. There's a man named Charlie Jones who was a great publisher of hundreds of books in the early 30s, 40s, and 50s. And he said by his book publishing and dealing with people, look at what his little analysis was of how valuable friends were. He said that what you are going to be in the next 5 years, you can take the knowledge of the books you read and multiply it by the characteristics of your 5 closest friends, mix them together, and that will be you in 5 years. So that's how powerful it is for the people that you are around, that you use, that you call your friends or your company. They're going to impact you, or you're going to impact them at some point. Whatever they are, you're going to become like. So it's very, very important that inner circle that you have. You can have a lot of associates, but that inner circle that you have, they have to be trying to be something like you trying to be, trying to go somewhere if you're trying to go somewhere. And if you got, a nice tight circle, they don't have to be in the same field, have the same profession, but they do have to have that same mindset. They got to be hunters. You want go-getters. You want people that make moves, not excuses. You want those kind of soldiers around you, so that's your inner circle, so you can push them and they can push you. And do you know, the minister said this to us once. He said that for every physical law in nature, there is a spiritual counterpart. And I was Dr. Alicia, and this is exercise too. I was training for a marathon one year, and my running partner had more experience of running than I did, but I ran long and he ran short and fast. I was trying to practice how to eat to live, eating 1 meal a day. He'd think that in order for you to train for a marathon, you got to eat some spaghetti and all this stuff that I wasn't going to eat. So every time we ran and I got tired, he would always say, I told you, you got to start getting some bananas in the morning, a smoothie or something. And every time that we was running and he was getting tired, I would say, I see that. That's that breakfast on you, boy. I see it. Uh-huh. That's that McMuffin that got you, don't it? And we would go back and forth. So one day, Dr. Boyce, Dr. Alicia, we was on a 21-mile run training for this marathon. And we was at mile 17, and I'm telling you, I was hurting bad. But I looked over at him, and his back was straight, his stride was good, and he had such a good pace. Well, I said, this is what I said to myself. I'm not going to let no cognac nipping, black and smoking, cheeseburger eating Negro. He's not getting ready to outrun me. If he can do it, so can I. So we got to the end of the run, a 21-mile run. We both fell out in the grass and laid out. I was laying there with my eyes closed on my back. He was laying there, and he leaned over, and you won't believe what he said to me. He said, I got to tell you something, man. I was hurting bad around that 17-mile mark. But I looked over at you, and your back was straight. Your stride was good, and you had such a good pace. I said, if he can do it, so can I.
Wow.
I was thinking the same thing. What happened though? See, we were together. So for physical, there's a spiritual peripheral vision that you have. Even though we didn't say anything to each other, we inspired each other by doing the same thing at the same time. That's how important it is that you have that proper inner circle, that certain group that's close to you that are hunters and go-getters that like making moves, not excuses. When you got that kind of cadre around you, you'll end up giving each other strength without even knowing it. And before long, both of you or all five of you will make it to your goals much easier. So that's very important, Dr. Boyce.
Wow. So you're talking about setting standards. That's what that is to me. So everybody in here, I hope you're taking notes. The brother's talking about setting standards. Everybody type the word standard in your life. Standard. Type that in the chat. Type the word standard or standards, because I think that this says to me that, you know, for all of us that are setting a higher standard, we're not accepting the standard that other people set for us. I feel like as Black people, we should be offended by the fact that we are meant to be excellent and they set the standard to be sub-mediocrity. You know, we accept that. Educationally, below average. When it comes to financially, below average. When it comes to vision or just family structure, below average. And I don't think that's who we're supposed to be.
And that's not even in our DNA, really. Yeah. You know, the Honorable Minister Farrakhan said this. He said, never pick up a discipline unless you intend on being its master. In other words, don't touch it unless you're going to try to be the best.
Yes.
There's a Bible verse that says this: whatever thou findeth thy hand to do, do it with all your heart or all of your might. So anything that we're doing, we should be trying to do it the best that we can do. And look, not just anything, everything we're trying to do, we should try to do it our best. Because how you do anything is how you're going to do everything. Once you train yourself with a standard of Black excellence, and that is something you take with you in everything you touch, I'm going to be the master of this discipline. I'm going to do it with all of my might and all of my heart. Then your expectation of yourself begins to be a high performer. And the next thing you know, everything you touch, you begin to manifest greatness. And it's something about winning. Winning provides you motivation. And in order to win, you're going to have to face difficulty, meet pain, embrace it, bust through it, and then on the other side. So every time you come across something new, now you have your own personal Black history notes. Right. See, it's one thing to be able to look back at Nefertiti and to look at Timbuktu, a city of Atlantis, and Nile Valley civilization, and King Tut, and look at Garvey, and look at the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, look at Booker T, look at Madam CJ. It's one thing to look back at great people that accomplished feats that look like you from the past, but it's a whole nother level of Black history when you can look back in your own life and remember what your own Black self did a year ago when you had the same discomfort or pain. And when you can draw from that and say, well, wait a minute, when we was training for the marathon, I remember I felt like I couldn't do no more, but I went ahead and bust through and I did it. Well, I can do that with this exam in front of me. I can do that with this law degree I'm trying to get. I can do that with this business I'm trying to get off the ground. I can do that to solve the problems of the family. As you said, Dr. Alicia, we're so hard. We really want justice for others, but mercy for ourselves. We're hard on other people, but we don't want the God to be hard on us. But God said, forgive us the prayer we said, forgive us our sins or trespasses as we forgive those who sin or trespass against us. So we might want to be careful being too unforgiving of others if we want the God to be forgiven of us. And I think that will help us, Dr. Alicia, in being able to have those discussions instead of arguments, trying to figure out what's right, not who is right. Rising above emotions into the thinking of God, not being controlled by them, but having control of them. And we can see ourselves in a lot better condition as family and as a people.
Well, you know what? You have said so much, and babe, I'm gonna let you get the last question because I hope the microphone's working good. I'm gonna let you ask the last question, and then I'll thank Brother Nuri, and we won't take too much of his time. But go ahead, babe. You had a question?
Couple things to say. I mean, first of all, I know there's a lot of people here who don't have the circle of people around them of which they can really feel like they can cultivate something special. And I just want to share like my own story. I mean, there was a point in my life where I had to actually start over. And I intentionally started over because I knew that the people around me I just felt like I was outgrowing some of the people around me. And there was nothing wrong with them. It's not like I'm better than any of them, but I always felt this kind of nagging sort of energy in me. It was just like, I think I love the people around me. I love my circle, but I just had this urge to change my circle. And what I did was I didn't seek anybody. I actually created a list of 6 goals that I wanted for myself, and they were big goals. And in this process of me starting over, I was by myself. I didn't have a voice. I didn't have an accountability partner. It was just me alone. And I recorded myself talking about these 6 goals that I had. I don't even want to share what they are because it's so personal. But I had 6 goals, and I recorded myself saying them to some music. And I would play it on my headphones at night when I went to sleep because I was by myself. I was starting over. I was afraid. It's scary starting over. I embraced that pain that I had to go through. And those 6 goals, would you believe that in no time flat, it just came to me? I had to work for it. I was so surprised. And that it happened so fast, that boom, 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 one after the other, just from listening to my voice say, and I said it in the affirmative, you are blank, you are blank. I don't really want to say what it was, but it all came to me in an instant. And I was able to create that circle around me that I feel like, wow. And I look back at that other person that I was years ago. Who was that lady? That was not anything like myself now. And I was able to grow and expand. So I understood that my subconscious mind was stuck. And I consciously programmed myself to operate in a different way. And so much more abundance has come to me. I feel like I am really, truly in this moment living my purpose. There's nothing else I'd rather do than to do what I'm doing every single day. And the people around me notice it. And it's just something that I've just been able to do. So this is how you create, because a lot of us are like, I'm lost all by myself. I don't have anybody around me. You don't even need to really work on it. It came to me and fell in my lap.
Right.
It was unbelievable.
That's the mathematics of the mind, Dr. Alicia. That's the mathematics of the mind. So whenever this is something that the most honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us. He said that there were 14 billion brain cells in the brain, and thought travels on the average of 24 billion miles per second. If you think about a cell in a circle, if you've got a force moving in a circular motion, it produces one or two forces, either centrifugal force or centripetal force, or sometimes both at the same time, depending upon how powerful that force is. Well, if the thought is moving at 24 billion miles per second in a circular motion inside the head, see what you were thinking about, you're thinking about it now by the law of centripetal force, it's attracting to you people, situations, and circumstances that match the nature of your thoughts. And by the law of centrifugal force, it's repelling people, situations, and circumstances that are opposite the nature of your thoughts. And then what you did is you took it to the next level. There's a verse in the Bible that says, speak those things which are not as if though they are. Let him who is sick say that they are well. Let him who is weak say that I am strong. Mm-hmm. See, what you're saying is that, see, if you speak it, you can see it. When you say it, you can see it. Your speech will actually bring it into existence. That's the same way that God did it.
Yeah.
Look all through Bible and Quran, any students of scripture. God, when he wanted to bring something into existence, he didn't hope it and wish it and just think it. He spoke it into existence. Look at the Bible on the first page. And God said, let there be light. And God said, let the stars adorn the heaven. And God said, let the firmament cover the earth. And God said, let us make man. In the Holy Quran, it says that when Allah deems a thing, he simply says to it be, and it is. So what we find is that words don't just reflect reality. By the law of substitution, words have the ability to create a reality.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Light wasn't present. Firmament wasn't covering the earth. Man wasn't here. Stars weren't there. But God said these things. Well, if we're in his image and likeness, then we have to say that I'm strong even when I'm weak. Say that I'm well even when I'm sick. And by having thought moving in the brain, 24 billion miles per second on the average, 14 billion brain cells in a circular motion, repelling things opposite the nature, attracting things that are in accord with it, and speaking those things which are not as though they are. You mix them together, you're going to employ the mathematics of the mind to a high level, and you won't have to go out looking for it. You created an invisible counsel.
Wow.
An invisible counsel in your own mind. And I don't get to talk to the minister as much as I would like to, but he is the chairperson of my invisible counsel in my mind. Got some other people that sit at the table too, but I'm always thinking about what has he said about the subject that I'm wrestling with. And by doing so, I'm able to have an invisible counsel. I don't have to have 5 closest friends. I got 5 closest friends.
Yeah, and those are the people that have the bird's eye view.
That's right. That's
the
right.
People who speak through you and know they can see what you can't see way up here.
That's
and
right.
Those are the people that you draw on in your mind. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. All right. Well, I love this, and I hope you all have enjoyed the discussion as much as I have. This is a great, brother, because this really fits right into what we've been doing every morning. This is the first year I've ever taught a class every single day, 7 days a week, because I said, it's time to quit playing. It's time to stop all this nonsense where we set New Year's resolutions and forget about them by March. We ain't doing that. We elevating, and I said, well, I guess if I want everybody else to elevate, I got to elevate myself. So I talked to Alicia and I said, I'm thinking about doing a class every morning, but that's a heavy commitment, and now that we've gotten in the habit of doing that, it's just second nature now. And every day we just discuss what it means to be economically conscious, right? We talk about being woke. What does it mean to be financially woke? Well, it means
Right.
understanding how how the economics flows through everything that happens in our society, and how controlling our economics, as I know that you know, uh, that is one of the keys to us really taking our proper position on the throne. You know, and yeah, we ain't playing. We don't do I don't do all that equality talk. I ain't trying to be equal to a losing culture. I'm not trying to be equal to people that are running the country into the ground. People
Right.
that have all these, this burning house. I'm not trying to be equal to that. No, we're trying to be what we're supposed to be, and people like yourself reflect that. And so I want to say thank you so much for joining us tonight. We are blessed. I hope everybody in the chat will give a digital thank you to Brother Nuri Muhammad. His new book is called The Mathematics of the Mind, and I hope that we will go and storm his website. His website is nurimuhammad.com. That's Nuri Muhammad.com. So go look this brother up, follow him, check him out on social media, support. And I always tell I came in even in my video, I put my picture with the minister back in the back. I don't know if you saw that.
Yes,
That's
sir.
one of the pictures I'm most proud of, and it's really because I feel like we are in, when you talked about the fact that they don't want us to learn warfare, I get that. I understand why. I understand why they don't want black men and black women prepared for battle, right? And I always say privately and publicly, if I'm going to war, I stand with the brothers in the Nation of Islam because I know they're gonna show up for the fight. They're ready, and that to me is the standard that we have to pay attention to, because we have others that want to promote this little squiggly image of the black man, this little,
Oh,
little weak, little snake, little talking, all talk, no action. That's not who we are.
that's right.
So thank you for representing in the best way that you can. I wish you and your family the very best. And thank you again for coming by, brother. It's an honor.
Thank you all so much, and thank you, Dr. Alicia, and for letting me be the person that you all decided to come on together with. And
Yes.
I'm very honored to share space and time with you, like I said earlier. And anytime that you all want me, let me know. I would love to be on any platform with you all at any time, because you all have the heart, you all have the mind, and you all have the spirit of the rise of our people, like I've seen in nobody else. So thank you, Dr. Boyce. Love you much. And may Allah continue to bless you, increase you, and strengthen you. Thank you for taking care of God's people the way you do.
Yes. Well, thank you, brother. And we got Indianapolis. That's where you live, right? Yeah,
Yes, sir.
we gotta stop. We go through Indianapolis all the time. We gonna stop by. So I'll call you first.
We'll make it work. We'll definitely receive you with the gold ribbon. We ain't gonna roll out the red carpet. We're gonna put the white carpet out for you. But we would be honored to have you as a guest.
All right. Well, thank you, man. Thank you so much. And also, I'd like to say thank you to our honored guests in the audience that came by. We normally we might do a Q&A or something, but brother Nuri has given us so much time. We're gonna go ahead and shut down for tonight. But don't forget that tomorrow morning we're gonna meet for financial consciousness training, 10 a.m. Eastern. If you want to get an invitation in the morning, just text the word morning to 87948. Text morning to 87948. I'll send you all a text in the morning. We're gonna go to battle. God bless you, everybody. Take care, brother Nuri, again. And babe, and Alicia, I will see you in the other room. And thank you too, my love. All right, see you all soon. Have a great night, everybody. Bye bye.